Alright, so this will be the recap for the Necromancer in regard to the condition damage 2016. Now the reason why I'm doing this recap or the finalized versions for the Necromancer condition damage is because next year I prefer to have a finalized version for 2016 so that I can look and refer back to when it comes to the new updates or the new changes for the balance patch. And so I like to have some information so that I can rely on and see what are the changes. Now in regard to the background of the Necromancer, I should say something about it before moving on to the video itself, to the build itself. So the Necromancer has been in quite a demand ever since the release of Heart of Thorns for two reasons. First of all, it's because of the restructure of the condition damage system, and secondly, it was because the Necromancer is now considered to be one of the top DPS class in regard to the condition damage because of that restructure, and also through the usage of Epidemic. Epidemic, in a short, concise explanation I can give you, is a skill, utility skill, that allows you to copy the condition damage on a target and then spread it across to multiple targets, and I'll get on to that in more detail in the specialization sections. Alright, so that's pretty much for the overview of the Necromancer. Now in this video I will talk a little bit about, well, I'll try to keep it brief, but I'm afraid that I might, start on yapping and start to get to go nuts about the patch back in October 2016, and that patch reduced, or the correct term that I should use is they nerfed the Necromancer by changing the elite skill Lich Form. I'll get into that once we get into the specialization sections, but I will try my best to keep it brief, but I'm afraid that when the discussion start I might just lose track. But again, I'll try to keep it brief and in my best capability. Alright, so without further ado, I like to start it off with the specializations, and then I'll move on to the equipment, and I'll move on to the weapons, and then after that everything will follow through. Alright, so without further ado, I'll get on to that. Alright, so now let's talk about the specialization of the Necromancer. As you can see in here, I will be, actually before that, I'll be giving you two options. The first one is Death Magic, and then the second one will be Blood Magic. Now for the Death Magic, well, let's start off with the first one, shall we? For the curses, I'm using bottom, top, and bottom. Now for the first one, Chilling Darkness. Blinding the target for will also applying chill. Now this will go really well with the Reapers, and I will get into the combination later on. So for now, just stick with me for the time being for the Chilling Darkness first attribute. Now for the second attribute, I'm using the Master of Corruption, and as you can see in here that I have Epidemic, which is the first corruption, and also Corrosive Poison Cloud, which is the second corruption. Now the Master of Corruption allows me to have the reduced recharge in my corruption skill, and if you see this one right here, utility skill Epidemic, this one is a must for a lot of Necro users, and I can tell you that if you ask any Necromancer user, they will tell you that Epidemic is one of the must-have skills most of the time anyway, unless it's very specific scenario, then you have to take the Epidemic out, but most of the time a lot of Necromancer user will be carrying Epidemic. Why? Epidemic allows you to copy the condition damage stacks on a single target and then spread it across to 5 other targets. So imagine, let's say I have my mini ghost over here, right? He has 20 burning condition damage stack on him. So let's say that I have 5 other targets standing around him. I can copy that and then spread 20 condition damage stacks of the burning to those 5 other targets. So that's really good, especially when it's come to meta events where you'll be facing with a lot of mobs at the same time, and for you to be able to spread your condition damage and deal damage to all of them at the same time is insane, and I love it. So imagine in a scenario where you have 5 other Necromancer in your party as well. So let's say a group of 5 Necromancer, right? You and the 4 others. You can copy this. You start off first. You can copy from one target and you spread it to other 5 others. The other 4 Necromancer will copy, let's say another target right here, target B. 4 others Necromancer will copy from target B and then spread it back to target A, which is my mini Kosovo, and target C, and target D, and target E. So that will increase the overall condition damage stacks of the burning to 80. So that's, you know, 4 times 20 is 80, right? So initially you'll have one mini Ghost of War with 20 burning condition damage stacks. You spread it across to 5 orders one, and then 4 orders Necromancer spread it back. So you will have 80 in total, 80 burning condition damage stacks, 80 in total. That's just insane. That's just insane. And it will, the more condition damage stack that you have, the more damage you will deal to the mobs, and that's just insane, and I love it. That is precisely why a lot of Necromancer, they would take Epidemic most of the time, unless when it comes to very specific content, then in that case they don't have to swap it around, but most of the time people would take Epidemic. So for the next one, I have Lingering Curse, because I'm using the scepter, right? So the more condition damage that I have, and also increase in my condition damage durations, is very nice. Now for the next one, I have Death Magic. Death Magic, I'm using the top. For the first one, I'm using Flesh of the Master. Flesh of the Master allows my minions, as you can see in here, I have 2 minions with me. And for the second utility, I also have the ability to increase the number of minions by activating this skill. And so the more minions that I have, the more toughness that I will get. So this skill also provides me with an increase in my health point by 50%. So as you can see in here, I have roughly nearly 21,000 health points. So that's a lot for a light class. Alright. So for the next one, I have Necromantic Corruption. Necromantic Corruption allows my minions to deal more damage and take condition damage away from me. And whenever those minions attack, they will transfer the condition damage that I have on them to target foes. So that's very nice, right? Not only that I have more toughness for myself, but I can also transfer condition damage. You know, that condition damage is my main damage anyway. So I have more condition damage over time in the form of transferring from my minions to the target foes. Lovely. Now for the next one, I have Poison Cloud. So whenever my my minion dies, they will leave a Poison Cloud condition damage on the ground in the form of AoE. It's the same with this one right here, corrosive Poison Cloud. So as you can see in here, that will be exactly what happened when my minion dies. And so the more of them dies, the more Poison Cloud will be available for you in the you know, on the ground, and whenever the target stepping on them, they will take poison condition damage. Lovely. Now for the next one, I have Reaper. Reaper, I'm using middle, top, and middle. Now for the first one, critical hits against chill foes, cold, and explosive that chill nearby foes. Now, wait, hang on for 1 second. Before I'm talking about the combination, just bear with me for 1 second. Next one, I have Critical Strike. Increase whenever I strike a foe that has vulnerability, it will increase my critical strike, right? So the more critical strikes that I have, the more chill effect that I can spread across to multiple foes. Now this is the beauty. The last skill, Deathly Chill. Chill damage deals over time in the form of bleeding. So what does that say? That is saying the more chill that you have, the more bleeding stack that you have. Nice, right? Nice, right? So as you can see in here, that I have the critical chance per stacks whenever I strike the foe with vulnerability, right? So I have this increase in my critical chance. Increasing critical chance allows me to have more chill spreading across to multiple targets, and in return I have more bleeding stack over time. Now don't forget this one, Chilling Darkness. Blinding target foe will apply chill. So where does that come from? This one right here, Deadly Swarm. So blind, apply chill, right? And that's very nice. You have blind, you have chill, you have increase in the amount of chill spreading to nearby foes, and that in return will increase your overall damage in the form of bleeding. Not only that one, you can also get more chill coming from triple marks from your staff. And again, chill, again, there's also another form of bleeding. So you will have a lot of bleeding to target foes. Alright, so I already talked about my utility, so let's talk about the blood magic. For the blood magic, this is more of the support style. And for the first one, I have let's say Signal of Vampirism. So let me just change that to the other setup first. So this will be the setup I will be using for the blood magic. Now first one, Signal of Vampirism, it will, you know, light with saffron whenever struck by a player. So I will put a mark on the target, and that mark, whenever I attack them, it will heal back to me. It will provide me with a a healing for every time when I attack that target. But it's a lesser signet of vampirism, so it only has 5 stacks compared to if you have this one right here. Whenever you activate this healing signet, it will give you 25 stacks of the vampire marks, and so you have more time to heal. But it can also initially self-heal will be 4035 points, so that's a lot, right? But overall you have more healing for both of these, so that's really nice. Now for the next one, vampiric presence. So you and your allies siphon health with attack, so the more you guys attack, the more heal that you will get. Last one, transfusion. This one I turn myself into before that you have one person down in this location, you have another one in here, you have another one in here. So let's say that you transform yourself, right, and there's an AoE boss coming in through the side, and so you press on skill 4. What you can do is to teleport all of your down allies from this side, that side, and that guy, and then you teleport them all into a safe zone where you are standing away from the AoE. Just imagine the boss is casting an AoE spell right here, so you can save all of them by teleporting them to where you are standing, and on top of that it's partially healed nearby allies as well. So that's really good. Now you can also increase the effectiveness by having this one as well. So whenever you exit the shroud, you can also revive them by 5% of their health. So that's really nice if you want to go that way. But otherwise, this is what I usually prefer to use, having this one. Okay. Now, alternatively, when you're using a blood magic, you can also go with this one as well, which will give you additional healing. 10% of your condition damage will contribute to your healing, and you can also have this one as well to send condition damage to the foe in the form of blade signets. So the more condition damage that you have, and whenever you activate a critical hit, you send all of your condition damage that you currently have on yourself to the nearby foes. So it's in consideration, but I don't usually take that one that often. I prefer to have the chill so that I can apply more condition damage on the target. This one also in consideration as well, striking, a chill foe, grant might, and life force. But again, in the meta event where you have a lot of people doing the event with you, chances are you'll be having the might anyway, so that's why I prefer to have this one right here. Alright, now let's just quickly swap back to my user setup for the death magic. But before I talk about why people got upset about the October patch, I like to take into the talk about the considerations of the utilities that I'll be taking from time to time. So for the first one, I have your own weakling. So whenever I do solo content by myself, sometimes I consider taking this one in because of the extra might. Other consideration is Signet of the Locust, which will provide me with the ability to run faster and closer the distance for me to travel, and it can also act as a healing signet as well, because I will still heal steal the health from nearby foes and then transfer it to me. For the next one, I can also consider the Signet of the Undeath, which will provide me with the ability to revive up to 3 down allies in the target area. And also I can also take in the Flesh Worm as well. For actually, before that, I'm just going to show you this one right here, Well of Power. Well of Power allows me to have stability and also convert any condition damage that I have to boons, and also that applies for my allies as well. So in the meta event, if I'm facing with a lot of mobs that have the ability to disable me, then in that case, then I will have the Well of Power to negate the disability spells from the mobs. So that's really nice. Now for the Flesh Worm, right, from time to time I'll be consider taking Flesh Worm purely on the basic that the Flesh Worm will allow me to have the teleport functions. So not only that it would deal the damage to the target in the form of poison, but let's say that I am having a huge wave of AoE coming my way and I'm running out of dodge. Let's say that I already used my dodge and I have no dodges left. So in that case, then I can use my Flesh Worm to get me out of the combat. So as you can see, I teleport from that to here and avoid myself from getting hurt by the AoE spell. Alright, so those are the considerations that I'm taking. Alright, so now let's talk about the Lich Form and why a lot of people got upset about that. I'll try to give it short. but I'm afraid that I might go on and start yapping because it's affected me in the sense that I was the one I was doing a lot of high-end content as well, and that's affected me quite a lot. But I will give you my reasoning. I'll try to keep it civil, and I'll try to keep it in the reasonable sense discussion, but without going into more yapping and all right. So let's get on to it. So what happened? Well, prior to the so let's just put it this way. During the October patch 2016, what ArenaNet did was they nerfed the Lich Form utility elite spell. So as you can see in here, Mark of Horror, the ability for you to put out the mark on the ground, and whenever the target foe step on it, it will summon 5 minions, and that minions can stay only up until 30 seconds, and after 30 seconds they will all die. That was the patch. Now prior to that patch, before that patch, the minion can stay up indefinite, provided that if you have somebody to heal them. So for example, in a team of 5, in that team, if you have a druid or if you have a heal elementalist, those two can heal the Jagger Horrors and keep them up in the battle for indefinite. So imagine the scenario: if you have someone Bloodfiend, you have the Rise, you have this one. So let's say that you have 11 minions in total. That 11 minions will provide you with a tremendous amount of toughness, and that will also provide you with a tremendous amount of damage that you can deal on a single target, and they can stay up for indefinite because you have the healer to keep on healing them. So so that's why a lot of people love this setup. They loved using the death magic back then because of the amount of minions that you can summon and the amount of minions lives that they can stay up indefinite in the battle, and that in turn will give you a tremendous amount of toughness and damage that a Necromancer can deal to the target. So during the October patch, ArenaNet decided to say, using the ban hammer, say nope, you cannot do that anymore. Right, full stop. We're gonna nerf it. We're gonna restrict the amount of time that the minion can stay in the battle up until 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, they all die. All of the minions in the Jagger Horrors that you have from the Lich Form will die. Period. No more. So a lot of people, including myself, we have experienced a tremendous amount of damage loss, purely from the basics that we lost the Lich Form. And that's why in the high-end content, specifically when it comes to raids, we lost a lot of damage, and that's why a lot of people, including myself, feel dissatisfied with that outcome, because that's considered to be uncalled for. Now I understand that ArenaNet needs to make it reasonable and not making the class way too OP, but I felt well, I was okay with the outcome to restrict that a little bit, because I absolutely have no problem with it. But a lot of people, they think that it was really affect their their ability to deal with their Necromancer ability to deal with the damage in regard to a single target. It has a tremendous amount of losses in regard to the damage, and that's why they are not very happy about it. Now for me, I was disappointed, but I accept it because there's nothing that I can do. I mean, like, okay, I voiced my concern that it was a little bit, they go overboard with it. They can make it like 60 seconds or something, but I prefer not to get into that discussions. But overall, for high-end content, very specific content that require the Necromancer to be on top of the damage, that nerf was a blow to us, and because of that, a lot of people got upset, and that's considered to be uncalled for. And that's why a lot of people, they keep on saying that like Necromancer wasn't worthwhile anymore to take the death magic. But I still think that death magic is still worthwhile for you to take. I have been using death magic on a regular basis, and in my own personal group, from time to time, they still allow me to take death magic in very specific content like the race, or in the challenge mode in the Fractal of the Mist. I still take death magic in. I have no problem with that. I want to tell them that I will be taking death magic in to provide me with the ability to have the CC replace the Lich Form with the Flesh Golem to have more CC, and also the rise for me to have extra toughness, and also transfer all of my conditions to the target foe. They have absolutely no problem with it. Now if you're doing specific content and your group is not allow you to do that, then that's another perspective that I don't want to get deep into, because you know there's nothing I can do about it. I'm only giving you my experience and also from what I have experienced so far. Alright, so overall I think that I have been moaning too much, or whining, if you want to call it that way, too much about this. But let me just say this video is not about raids, but I'd like to have the views from the people who do the high-end content, and also for the overall user, Necromancer user that I have seen in Reddit forum and etc. They think that it has caused some damage to them, and to a certain extent I agree. But let me just say this: if you're just doing the meta event, if you're just doing the rooming, if you're solely content by yourself and doing the hearts, and also for the farming, you know, PvE, general PvE farming, that's outside of very specific content that require the Necromancer to have as much damage as possible, like raids or anything like that, then in that case you are completely fine. Don't worry about it, just enjoy the game. That's what I like to say. You know, this video is not about raids. Again, this video is not about raids. It's about doing general PvE content that outside of that specific content. So what is it? It's for fun. It's for you to relax and enjoy the game, and do, you know, do all the contents that you know, a little bit more relaxed in terms of the requirement in regard to the damage. So don't worry about it. Let me just say it again, don't worry about it, just go ahead and enjoy the fun. If you want to use the death magic, go ahead, by all means use the death magic. Even if you want to use the Lich Form as well, by all means just use the death magic in the meta events. You know, it doesn't cause any harms. If you want to play support and use the blood magic with this, that's fine, doesn't matter, it's okay. In the meta event, that's okay. So again, like, you know, a lot of people, they might disagree with what I'm saying, but that's okay. That's just my opinion. If this video is all about general PvE, and that's all about doing the meta events and for roaming and doing all the contents that are outside of the specific content, so in that case, then that's completely fine. You know, the requirement is not that strict. Alright, so I think that I have said enough in this, and if I prefer not to get into any more of these discussions. It's already been done and dealt with. A lot of people have already accepted with the fact that in October patch, but I like to give this information to you. If you know, you go online on Reddit, or you see any people, anybody that start, you know, talking about this issue and say, like, you know, why I am having the death magic, this is the answer that I can give you. Alright, so I think that I have said my piece, and I'd like to move on with this video in regard to move on to the next section with the equipment, weapons, and then I'll finalize it with all the information. Alright, so let me go ahead and start doing it. Now for the equipment, if you want to maximize your damage, then again, of course, you'll be using these Viper sets along with the accessories, full Vipers as well. Now for the rune, there's a variety of different rune that you can use, because the Necromancer is specialized in bleeding and poison, and also it can also apply all the condition damage tab as well. But bleeding and poison, those two are the primaries for the Necromancer. So you either have two options. You can go with the superior rune of Berserker for extra critical chance to increase the amount of bleeding that you can apply on the target foe, or you can go with the superior rune of Thorns for more poison damage. And superior rune of Thorn is you can get them for the Verdant Brink, itself mastery, and it will cost you 1250 airship part tokens. The gold that you have to spend for that rune is 12 gold. Now the superior rune of Berserker is about roughly the same, but you do not have to farm for the tokens. You can buy it off from the trading post, or you can craft it yourself, whatever works. Now for the budget options, then I would highly recommend people to go with Rampagers and not Rapid. The reason why I'm recommend Rampagers for the budget options is because it will provide you with the critical chance and the condition damage, and also the power spec. Now Rapid set will provide you with a precision, toughness, and vitality. Sorry, not vitality, precision, toughness, and condition damage. But you do not need to have the toughness if you are going to go with the death magics. Even if you go with the blood magic, I don't feel like you should be going ahead with the precision, toughness and condition damage spec from the rabbit, because you already have a decent amount of health points already, and you have the minions to look after you. You also have the Shroud effect to give you extra health points, and so I don't see any reason for you to be going with the rabbit set. So instead, if you're on the budget, just go with the rampages. And for the rune of the budget options, go with the superior rune of the crate, which will be specialized in the bleeding. Now if you want to go with the poison one, you can also go with the superior rune of rather zoom. So those two will be, one is for the bleeding option and the other one is for the poison option. It's just your matter of preferences. For me, I go with the for what I usually use, or for my personal attack, because I already have the superior rune of Berserker, so I'll be using that for my Necromancer. But in the future, I might be swapping to the superior rune of Thorns, depending on, you know, if I have some extra ascended sets armor lying around, then yeah, I'll be using the superior rune of Thorns. But otherwise, I like to just go I like to just use my superior rune of Berserker, because I have a spare of them lying around. So it's a matter of preferences. You can either go with the bleeding or you can go with the poison. Alright, so that pretty much it. Oh, sorry, for the trinket and accessory for the budget option, just go with the rampages. Okay, and that pretty much for the equipment. I like to move on to the weapons. Now for the weapons, you'll be using scepter and dagger on one hand, and for the other one you'll be using the staff. But sometimes I keep a warhorn with me for extra CC, so it's entirely subjective. If you want to just do with the meta event, then feel free to have a warhorn with you, because the warhorn skill 5, it is a, you know, permanent swiftness buff for you. But if you want to have an extra CC, the warhorn will be in handy, especially for skill 4. Now for the staff, let's start off with staff first. For the staff, I am using the, let me just pull out my this one right here. So I have, for the staff, I have the superior sigil of corruption, will give me a charge of 10 condition damage every time when I kill a foe. So the maximum amount of stat I can have is 25, and that will be 250 points in condition damage. Now for the second one, it's optional for the sigil. For the second optional sigil, you can either go with superior sigil of earth, or you can go with superior sigil of venom, depending if you want to go for the poisons, or you can go with the superior sigil of agony for extra duration in the bleeding. So you know, there's a variety of them that you can go for, and it's entirely up to you. There's a variety of options that you can take. Now for the scepter and the sorry, not the scepter and the toy, for the scepter and the dagger. Now for the scepter, you can either use the superior sigil of mallets, which will increase a 10% condition durations. Now I prefer to have the superior sigil of mallets on my scepter, is because obviously the necro, I prefer to have an increase in condition duration, both for both of my bleeding and also for the poison as well, and also for the torment. And because of that, I like to have this one, sigil of malice. But you can also use the superior sigil of venom, or superior sigil of agony, or the superior sigil of earth as well. So it's entirely up to you. Now for the dagger, the same thing. You can either go with any of those. So if you are using the superior sigil of earth, that's completely fine. But keep that in mind that if you are going to use the superior sigil of earth, then go with the bleeding options build. Sorry, not the build, for the gears. Alright, so that's pretty much it for, oh, I forgot to mention for the warhorn. Now I keep a warhorn on, you know, as a spare weapon, because the warhorn has the ability to provide me with a locust swarm, which will increase my swiftness by 33%, and also the swiftness is about 15 seconds. But the main reason why I'm using the warhorn, it's depending on the situation, of course, but the main reason why I'm using the warhorn is because of skill 4, Well of Doom. Now this one will cast a spell in front of my character, and whenever I cast that spell, it would daze my foe, and that is considered to be one of the CC that you can have for the Necromancer. Now for those of you who don't know about the CC, please refer to the description box box below. I'll be uploading a CC mechanic video so that you can have a look and understand what it is. For those of you who already know what CC is about, then feel free to skip these sections. Alright, so that's pretty much for the weapons. Now, I don't have a lot of stuff that I can say about all the informations, aside from the fact that if you have the access for the 3 new maps, Bloodstone Fen, Ember Bay, and Bitter Frost Frontier, then in that case then you can go ahead and do those maps to get yourself a full set of Ascended Trinkets that will provide you with the trinket, sorry, not a trinket, Viper's stats. And so that's one of the recommendations that I highly recommend you to do. The other one would be the food. So for the food, for the condition damage food that you can increase your maximum amount of damage, you can either go with the quality tuning crystals, that is for the purchased one, and for the other one is the super veggies pizzas, which will increase the condition duration and also 60 points in your condition damage. Aside from that, if you want to go with any of the food that increase your magic find, that's completely fine too. So that's pretty much it that I want to say about this build for the Necromancer. Now, this is a little bit longer than I expected because of the specializations, and I have been received. The reason why I was talking about that was one, because I have been receiving a number of private messages asking me like, why don't you cover, talk about the effect that the nerf that the ArenaNet just put in for the Necromancer. And so I like to just say that I'm looking at the build with the perspective of general PvE outside of raid content, and so because of that it is more relaxed compared to when you go into the raids. And besides, when I'm making the video general PvE, I prefer to just stay completely from raids, but because I have been receiving a number of messages asking me like to clarify that, and so I think that was a good idea for me to just speak a little bit about that, even though I prefer to just stay away from it. Alright, so that's pretty much what I want to say. Now, if you have any feedback for me, please feel free to give it to me down in the comment section below, or private messages is fine too. Alright, so to conclude, I'd like to wish you luck and also have fun, enjoy the game, and I will see you later.